Shopify, no entrepreneur too small, no enterprise too big. But there is a lot of Swifties on this planet. I think we can agree on that. And she chose, or probably not she, but her team chose Shopify as a platform. And same did Supreme as a brand that is exclusively working with drops. And there's tens of thousands of checkouts per minute going through Shopify. And they choose Shopify for a reason. And they actually started with a migration from custom to Shopify 6-7 years ago with 200 million in revenue. And then they scaled, they quadrupled their business on Shopify, with Shopify as the backbone of the business. Yeah. Shopify in Poland is a strongly growing business. And maybe that's also something we haven't talked about, but the European market in general is the strongest growing region for Shopify. AI, or everything that comes out of it, that comes with it, should be seen as an enabler that just makes you better at what you do, that gives more output.
Welcome everyone to the next episode of Flying with Shopify. Finally, Shopify has entered Polish market, and today we have a great opportunity to discuss this information and to get more insights about it from our guest, Maurice Junghans, who came to us to the studio to share with us how this Shopify's expansion will affect Polish merchants. So, Maurice, would you be so kind to introduce yourself?
Of course. Thank you for the introduction and for the invitation also to this podcast. I'm very glad I can be here together with you guys. A few words about myself. Maurice is my name. I'm working since over 4 years at Shopify in the commercial team. I started in the German market for the German expansion. So I was one of the first people on the ground that started this motion in a non-English speaking market. And now I'm very glad I can continue with those migrations from other platforms to Shopify Plus in the Polish market since we launched Shopify Payments in this year. And looking forward to talking today.
Great. That only proves that we have invited the right person.
So let's kick it off with the first question. So if you could maybe tell us a bit more about what's the vision strategy of Shopify for its presence in Poland.
Okay, I think for this it's very important to maybe also compare to other markets just to see what might be happening in the near future. For context, I've been at Shopify a little over 4 years. I started for the German or the DACH market, so German-speaking region, and as one of the first people on the ground supporting migrations from other systems like Shopware, Magento, Salesforce Commerce Cloud to Shopify Plus. And right now we have the similar situation here in Poland. We have the first dedicated people talking to merchants, talking to partners in Poland. And that's kind of where the whole growth story kicked off for the German-speaking region. And now we are here for the Polish region. And what happened so far is that we already gathered a network of great partners like you are in the market that did maybe the most important groundwork to spread the word about Shopify, to spread the message, what we do, how we do it, how it differentiates compared to other platforms and to other providers, to other tech providers. And we saw already this amount of growth that it's at this point where Shopify believes if we start to invest now, we can make out of this linear growth that we had maybe until now, we can maybe go into this hockey stick growth motion. And this is what we're doing here. This is why Shopify is investing into the market. But we'll also come to a couple more figures later in the conversation, I believe.
Yeah, sure. So talking about the similarities and the things that are done different in the Polish and let's say the German market, can you share maybe some experience on that?
The similarities and also differences maybe for comparing Germany, Poland, but also the Czech Republic, which I'm also responsible for. There's always a local provider that is very big, very dominant in the market. For Germany, it's Shopware. For Poland, it's Shopper. For Czech Republic, it's ShopTet. And what we see is they have a strong presence, but usually for local businesses. For local businesses, it's perfectly built, right? Perfectly developed. But once a business is looking into international expansion, usually these platforms come with a lot of needs for customization, a lot of problems for this part of the expansion. And this is exactly where we see that Shopify is fitting in perfectly, because Shopify, as an international business which is operating all over the globe, is just built for international expansion. And this is kind of the use case that we're especially talking to businesses that want to sell beyond borders, beyond the Polish market. And so I think this is the main similarity. What we see here in Poland is that there's a lot of custom solutions. And that's the same as for the Czech market. But in Germany, custom solutions are very rare. You see them in the very top enterprise segments. So businesses doing more than 250 million euros in revenue, so about 1 billion zloty. But below that, it's usually a platform that is being used. And trying to approach businesses on custom platforms, it's always a little harder, because the whole mindset really needs to shift if you're changing from a custom platform to a tech provider.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because that's very reasonable or very rational that it's a big change, but in the heads of the people, going from fully custom to something that might give some limitations is a hard move.
Yeah, because you have some custom business model or processes addressed, logics, and then it's hard to compromise. It's always a trade-off to just move to something out of the box.
I fully agree what you already said, mostly about all of these local custom solutions. And actually saying that, I think that it touches a very sensitive element of entering Shopify on Polish market. I mean, the main feature, which is called Shopify Payments, of course, and many different functionalities are connected to the Shopify Payments. And so comparing it to the Polish local payment providers, we are facing the problem with different rates, the higher rates. So if you can just try to explain us what other benefits will Shopify payment will bring to the merchants, because I think that there is some kind of misconceptions how it works, and Polish merchants are only comparing the rates and just realizing that it's still too much. So what's your opinion, or what's your let's say answer on such concerns?
Okay, so there's two answers to that question that I would like to pick on. The first one is maybe the advantage of using Shopify Payments. And by the way, this is also one of the reasons that I'm sitting here and that Shopify is investing now further into the Polish market. With the launch of Shopify Payments, the Shopify product is basically released as a whole. It makes the platform, it gives it an unfair advantage, basically, because it allows you to set up from one backend, set up multiple markets that you can sell to. You can have individual front ends per market. You can have individual languages per market, individual currencies per market, individual shipping rules, shipping providers per market, and you can basically contextualize to every market that you're selling to. And this functionality really just comes out when you're using Shopify Payments as the main payment gateway. So this is the advantage that it's giving, and that's also why in Germany it was available from the start when I started, and it just makes selling Shopify very easy.
Definitely.
Especially for businesses operating over a border. And in Germany, it's not even that important because it's a Euro country, so there's many Euro countries around it. So if you expand, maybe you first expand to the Benelux, there's no change. But for Poland, it's very relevant because maybe you're first expanding into one of the Euro countries or into the Czech Republic or into other markets that have other currencies. So it's hyper relevant. And then there's another point to this topic, and I get it very much because the Polish people are very much similar to the German, and I can say that because I'm both German and Polish, so I have both mixed in myself.
And that's why the second part of the episode will be conducted in Polish.
In Polish, exactly.
Okay.
Looking forward to that.
Thank you for clarification.
Let's see if we run out of time. No, but being conscious about the cost of a product is super important. And that's why, especially for merchants that are using Shopify Plus, the rates, so we always have the standard rates, which are in some cases already competitive, but not in all cases, and we get that. And because of that, it is possible to also negotiate the rates with Shopify. Because for the Shopify Plus clients, our enterprise clients, we are, with our payments product, in competition to all the local payment gateways.
Sure.
Doesn't matter if it's in Germany, if it's in Poland or in Czech Republic, and we need to be competitive. So you can actually conduct, we call it rate reviews, and achieve a better pricing for your payment rates. And all in all, it still might be that the payment rates for the card transactions are maybe still a little higher, but the competitive advantage that you're getting by using markets, they might actually make up for the 0.02 increase in rates or so.
Yeah, so I must say that for the time being, we see that like Polish merchants, our customers at least, they were like not super enthusiastic about the rates, and we don't see like that much attraction. It's different for brands who are really like into scaling globally. They have like this. They see the point in like choosing this option. But apart from that, it's still something that I think. But I think it's like the specific of a Polish market where the rates of Polish payment gateways are like really low compared to what's the standard in Europe. And I assume that's like the reason behind the current popularity of the solution.
Totally fair. What I would suggest is to anyone that is considering in this enterprise segment, that's considering Shopify, talk to us, because then we can set up a full commercial overview, TCO overview of your specific use case. Because yes, we know for a business doing 100 million zloty in yearly transactions, it is relevant how high the payment methods are, payment fees are.
Absolutely. But you already answered the another question if the fees are negotiable. You said that there is a room for the negotiation, but also, as you said, the full picture of the total cost of ownership is also relevant to be calculated, and you as a Shopify can help merchants just to make the proper calculation, which we enhance to do everyone who is just considering it. The another question, because Shopify entered Polish market this year, let's say a few months ago already. I believe that you are receiving a lot of feedback from Polish merchants. How did the feedback influence the roadmap for the project or the features which you are planning to deliver here in Poland?
Okay, so for this part of the business, obviously with the release of Shopify Editions, that's something that we really celebrate at Shopify. So our biannual release of features, or also announcement of features that we're publishing. So I think it was released 1 week ago, one and a half weeks ago. It was 150 new features, really cool stuff. I recommend it to everyone to just look at this presentation of what Shopify is doing, where Shopify is investing their money. So this is the result. But what is actually going into the pipeline? That is the question right now, right? How is the merchant's feedback translated into those features? And it's a very straightforward process. On Shopify side, all feedback from merchants is gathered into a huge dashboard pipeline of feedback, basically. There is all merchant, it can be complaints, can be ideas, whatever you name it. And all of this is gathered, and then there's a team that basically groups them, ranks them, and based on how often this feature is getting mentioned, or this lack of feature, whatever it is getting mentioned, it's moving up higher in the ranking. And that's kind of an invitation to all the merchants that are already using Shopify in the Polish market. Give this feedback to the support, give this feedback through all the channels that you have accessible to Shopify, because you are the one that are most responsible for the development also in your specific market. The more merchants are raising their voice, the faster those feature requests are moving up in relevance.
Okay.
And we know that there's some features that are quite necessary also for the Polish market, just to really be considered a local provider. And my colleagues and myself, we're doing also our part in talking to you guys, talking to merchants, talking to the Polish market to also give those features a little extra push, because some features are a must be, whereas maybe some other features that are moving up in the pipeline are just a nice to have, which are of course also nice to have, but for the Polish market, they're not that existential.
Yeah. I think like the things that probably Polish Shopify merchants are waiting for the most would be like the integration with Allegro, probably POS, probably some integration with like the comparison engines, or like the local ERPs, or like the accounting software. But I assume it's just a matter of time. Just a quick side note. We've discussed the last summer edition, and I think like for the first time for like, I don't know, like maybe a year and a half, we were like really impressed with what's going on. And I was wondering like which feature was like your favorite
from the past editions?
Yeah.
I think for me, it's maybe the most obvious, but it's probably going to be the most relevant, especially if this develops even more and more. It is the building of the front end through AI, with AI support, that you can give textual context, textual wishes, what you would like to have. And Shopify is building those elements for the storefront yourself. Especially for me, I'm not the most technical versed person. And so this feature is maybe not the most relevant for a developer. But from my perspective, also when we build demos for customers that are considering Shopify, they might have worked on their custom solution on a specific storefront feature for weeks or even maybe months sometimes. And you might be able to achieve this with no technical knowledge, just with the fingertips of your hands, exactly, and achieve a result that is just like what we achieved through weeks of development.
Yeah, and it's just like the first version of this feature. So I'm looking forward to seeing where we like in a year or two.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get back to it. I was wondering about like what's the strategy of Shopify like behind staying compliant with like the regulations in Europe, because compared to US, obviously we all know that European Union is like way more
sophisticated.
Let's call it like that.
Yeah. So how do you guys, what do you do to stay compliant?
Yeah. So actually, this topic is going hand in hand with a little of frustration on the merchant side. Maybe not for the reason that most businesses might think, but if you look at Shopify in US or Canada, it's a little bit different. You have way more features available, maybe also cooler features available, but they are just simply not published in the European Union or outside of the US and Canada because of laws, because of regulations. So Shopify has teams that are working on local, like fitting into local regulations. That is how we always assure that we are data security compliant. We always follow the GDPR requirements. Especially, I can tell you that from the working in the German and also Swiss market, this topic it's more important than commercials, right? If you can put a check mark behind the data regulation, pricing is I don't know, maybe on 4th place.
Okay.
But just because this is so in the heads of my fellow people, and so Shopify has teams that are always working on that. So we have, for example, we have a DPA in place, data processing agreement with all our merchants, and we're constantly monitoring what is changing on those ends, what is decided from the European court, and then we're adapting because. I think I'm not allowed to speak about the size of Shopify in Europe specifically, but you can run some reports on some platforms and then you will see, okay, there's hundreds of thousands of stores that are running on Shopify within the EU. And Shopify has some kind of responsibility. And this is the part that we need to fulfill. And then there is regulations like, for example, the accessibility regulations that are coming now into presence. And there, Shopify is giving the right foundation to execute on those laws and rules. But we also rely on our extensive partnership network, which can be also you, like the merchants that you're working with, that you're also helping them to build stores that are compliant for these regulations.
I think it's like one of the biggest advantages when it comes to software as a service kind of solution that you just can focus on running your business and not worry about
technology
the technology and being compliant with regulations. So it's a huge win. On the topic of that, I think we can switch gears to a slightly different subject and speak a bit more about Shopify Plus for enterprise.
So let's try to discuss a bit more and delve into the details. What is the main, let's say, misconception about the Shopify box product for the small businesses, and when we are trying to explain to someone who doesn't know Shopify at all, when we say that huge enterprises are also using Shopify for their e-commerce, they are always surprised. So how do you how would you explain it for someone who, let's say, don't believe in it?
Okay. I think I can start with a quick quote there. We have this right now, I think, in one of our marketing campaigns. It's just Shopify, no entrepreneur too small, no enterprise too big.
Okay.
That's very bold statement here, but I think we have the data, the merchants that actually support this.
I feel like the Shopify is probably the only solution in the market that fits really well in the needs of each level,
segment.
Each segment of the market, right?
Yeah, I think so too. And maybe to really cover the enterprise area, because I think everyone knows Shopify for smaller businesses, growing businesses, people that are starting out. It's a really great solution. It comes with everything that you need. But in the enterprise, the product and the approach to Shopify just looks a little different. And I think there's three main misconceptions that we're seeing. One is for really big businesses or businesses that are very traffic heavy on specific days. They're doing sales and specific events where you have a lot of traffic. Is that businesses are scared that Shopify might not be able to handle the traffic.
And so far, only Taylor Swift managed to break Shopify for a couple of minutes.
Did she break it?
Yeah.
Yes, she did.
That's going to break my point here.
No worries.
But so just showing that Taylor Swift, the most
famous
artist, I guess, can you say it like that? Or the most followed? Or
Yeah, we're not Swifters with
Swifties.
That's the word.
No Swifties here. But there is a lot of Swifties on this planet. I think we can agree on that. And she or probably not she, but her team choose Shopify as a platform.
Yeah.
And same did Supreme as a brand that is exclusively working with drops. Drops at one specific moment. There's a countdown, and then there's hundreds of thousands of people pushing on those buttons, and there's tens of thousands of checkouts per minute going through Shopify, and they choose Shopify for a reason.
Yeah.
In Germany, just to name another example, we have the More Nutrition and ESN. In the supplement space, it's maybe one of the biggest providers right now in Europe, and they're doing basically the same. They have always in stock things that you can buy all the time, but every Sunday they're having a drop for specific products, maybe new products or just some discounts, and they have every Sunday multiple tens of thousands of checkouts per minute, and it's a huge business, and they're still on Shopify, and they're also growing very rapidly. If you look up some numbers of the quality group that they're holding, it's crazy what they're achieving, and they choose Shopify as a partner, right? Not by accident, but by
Definitely.
Exactly. The other one is that we already had some examples of bigger brands, but many think Shopify is just for small brands or it's for mono-brand stores, which those are maybe the most stores that you see, right? We have millions of businesses that are using Shopify, and many of them are small businesses, and I think we're also very proud of them. It's the heart, it's the backbone of Shopify. Without them, Shopify would probably not exist, or not in the way it exists today. But there's a couple of examples that I can bring in here. Merchants like West Wing migrated in the past year over to Shopify. They're a publicly listed company. You can look at their revenues there. They're selling in 12 markets, and they're using one Shopify backend to do that, right?
Just to maintain it.
And if you look at their revenue, if you look at the complexity behind their business, and they actually came from a custom solution, and their tech team evaluated what might be the best option, especially from a TCO perspective, and Shopify was the choice. And actually, the same applies to the next two examples. They're from the UK and then from Australia. It's Bowden for the UK market, a huge retailer with a huge amount of SKUs, very complex business model. They also migrated to Shopify. And JB Hi-Fi is probably it's the MediaMarkt of Australia. So they have lots of retail presences all over the country, but also their online store is having around $1 billion in revenue annually. And they actually started with a migration from custom to Shopify 6-7 years ago with 200 million in revenue. And then they scaled, quadrupled their business on Shopify, with Shopify as the backbone of the business.
Yeah. I feel obliged to, because I broke your point, I feel like obliged to provide like the argument pro the traffic thing. And I must say that we can see a spike in the requests coming to our agency, like inbound, usually after Black Friday,
when other platform cannot afford to handle it. And, definitely. What else? I would also add from our experience, since we are providing Shopify services, which is already 8 years, because we became the partner in 2017, we have never suffered the problem with the servers during the Black Friday or Cyber Monday for our merchants. So definitely, I can only admit that when it comes to the handling the huge traffic, I wouldn't find any better solution than Shopify is.
You've mentioned total cost of ownership. Can you maybe speak to us about how do we how Shopify can be compared to the most I know maybe most popular engines out there
I think Magento would be a good comparison. I'm not sure.
Especially for enterprise customers.
To make that comparison here. But we see lots of migrations over all regions that we're operating in coming from Magento. And we had thousands of enterprise migrations from Magento to Shopify Plus, so the bigger projects. And usually the tipping point when merchants were like, okay, we're maybe sick of this or we're looking for a change, was when there was another big update coming in. For their current system. So they had to run several patches, several updates for some features, which then have interdependencies, and things can get very hacky on those highly customized systems. And the cost for this update, the merchants were so confused. What am I paying this money for? There's no change on my presence at all. There's nothing getting better, but I'm paying a huge amount of money. So this is sometimes the tipping point where merchants are like, okay, let's talk to a Shopify agency. Let's talk to a Shopify partner.
Yeah, we can confirm.
Yeah.
And then if the price for the migration is more or less the price of the update, or maybe a little more, but there's not going to be much updating more in the future. That's maybe when it makes tick in your head and you're like, okay, what am I waiting for? So this is usually, especially in this scenario, this is the big TCO difference. But then also what Shopify is providing is a full-on enterprise architecture, full-on enterprise SaaS architecture. So you're using the same setup as a West Wing. You're using the same setup as a JB Hi-Fi. Even if you're a business doing 10 million euro in revenue, right? Which is just amazing to know. You have, we are the biggest Google Cloud partner on the whole planet. You're having full-on CDN services by Cloudflare. This is a setup that usually would cost you a lot more money if you would purchase it yourself.
You don't know.
And that's also what we see sometimes, that the monthly costs of Shopify, they're lower than the hosting costs that merchants have. And then if you consider the DevOps, the updates, and there's no further development of the store, right? This is just maintenance. It's sometimes so high, and the switch to Shopify then is just it's a logical step.
So the team that you need to maintain, the developers if you hire them, or the fees that you pay to agency.
That's also one of the arguments which I'm using during the sales calls with our potential customers. When I said that, after the launch, actually, you don't need us at all for the daily maintenance. You don't need us as a developers. You don't need any agency which supports you in your daily daily activities, because you can do it by yourself. So that's definitely a huge benefit of it, and it decrease the maintenance costs of the entire solution. The other thing, because you said that you were supporting probably maybe not 1,000 but hundreds of migrations from let's say different platforms to Shopify. Which success metrics they are bringing as a measure of success after the migration? Which of them proves that was the right move for them, that they changed their system to Shopify? Which of them you would pick the most common one?
Okay, I think there should be 3 that are always coming up. And it's not always the same metrics for the same merchant, because also everyone has different goals, different
expectations,
exactly. As I just mentioned it for the case of West Wing, and it's the case for many migrations, it's bringing down the cost, bringing down running costs, bringing down the TCO basically of the whole project. And we usually have a very compelling offer when it comes to a migration from another enterprise platform, especially if you're looking at the very enterprise platforms, or like Salesforce Commerce Cloud, SAP Hybris or SAP Commerce Cloud, or even also Magento, or the new Adobe Commerce Engine. The cost to maintain and keep those systems running compared to Shopify, it's an immense gap. So driving down TCO and even custom platforms that need to be maintained. You have a big team. This is one metric that is usually looked for, especially for businesses which are not looking anymore at growing 25% year over year, but at businesses that need to see where they can cut costs.
Of course.
Because we're in, I would say, not the most optimistic economic situation if we're looking at specific markets. But in some regions, it's a stagnating market. Probably in Germany, you can see it. I think the GDP is, actually shrinking right now since already quite some time. That means the business power is shrinking of the consumer. And businesses need to make sure they're running a sustainable business. As long as money is free and you can just get it from, it rains, well, you can put it into very complex tools that you have for no reason. But if the realization comes in, then driving down TCO is one big factor. The second one is conversion rate. And I have to mention this here in this call because we mention it, I think, everywhere. The Shopify checkout is a conversion booster itself. There has been a study conducted by one of the top 3 consulting firms. It compared Shopify checkout to various other checkouts of other platforms. And the Shopify checkout right now already is a sign of trust. It's a checkout because you can customize it, but the base of the checkout, the functionality, the logic behind, you know it. You know it as an agency, you know it. But also as a consumer, as a customer, you know it. It builds trust, right? It feels familiar. And especially in the US, Shop Pay is also a conversion driver because Shop, the app behind, I will not dive too deep into this, but in the US, it's actually a conversion driver because it allows you to track your shipments, to track all of your orders in one app. So it's a little bit probably comparable to the InPost in Poland. But it's built from Shopify, by Shopify. And so the checkout is a conversion driver itself just because it builds trust. It works. There is no downtimes. It's fast. And Shopify keeps on optimizing this checkout, right? It's the core of our business. And it's actually one thing that I wanted to say also earlier on the enterprise setup. Shopify is an API-first platform, right? You can use all other tools on the market together with Shopify. You can integrate everything with Shopify. You can use a different PIM. You can use, and we should use probably as an enterprise, an ERP. You will have an external CRM. You will have some other platforms that you're integrating into Shopify. But there's one key component that you will always be using if you're working with Shopify. And this is our checkout. Our checkout is it's the one component that we are the most proud of. And there's no customer of Shopify that is not using our checkout.
And with Shopify components, I've heard that some brands are selecting only checkout for the non-Shopify platforms. It's so good.
Exactly. So at least the checkout, it's always the thing that you're using because it works, right? It's the one thing that you totally can rely on, and it's built for the...
That's true. We can see it after migrations from other platforms that we had cases where we were just actually the storefront was migrated one-to-one. It was exactly the same. The one thing that was different was checkout, and we've seen spikes in conversion rates. One thing that I would like to follow up here is maybe it was said before, but maybe just to clarify it and make a list of the signs. What are the good signs that you are qualified for switching to Shopify? So we discussed this technological barrier and then total cost of ownership. But are there any other
indicators
that you are good to go?
Yeah, I wish that that it would be that easy to always find some indicator in every business. But to be honest, some merchants, some businesses are also happy with the current situation. Maybe because they don't know how it could look differently. And we often hear this after migrations, that merchants and especially the people working with the store, because for bigger businesses, ultimately, there's just a spreadsheet with numbers coming in. If this looks good, then it's good. Okay, nice. But what really matters is also the experience in working with the platform, right? If how nice the UX, UI is. And I believe Shopify, if you compare it to any other system, probably almost in the entire world, especially in the enterprise segment, it's a pain to work with. It looks like Windows 95 or something, which was good when it was 95, but a couple of years passed since then. So it's really that's something that is very hard to indicate. That's very hard to measure also, except for people that approach us after migration and they're super happy to work with Shopify. They're coming to us at expos, events, and approaching my colleagues and me, how happy they are that they're using Shopify now, which is probably very rare if you've sold a product to someone. Mostly it's this didn't go well, They're happy for this. But it's not measurable. What is measurable are factors like we just had it. There's a big update coming on your current system. Let's evaluate if switching to another platform might actually solve this pain, because I believe updates are not just costly, they're also a pain, because things can go wrong. And so this is one of the bigger factors. Another factor, which I try to, in all the discoveries that we have with the merchants that we're talking with, is I try to understand if the current tech provider, the current solution that they're using, whether it's custom or whether it's another company that they're buying from, is it actually an enabler, or is it a disabler, or just none of it? It's just neutral.
Okay.
Is it pushing the bar of your business? Is it really, are they helping you to grow? And Shopify is investing almost all of the money that it earns into our developer team, which is doing Shopify Editions, if we're looking back a couple of minutes.
Yeah, the annual spending like 2 years ago for research and development was like $2 billion, something.
$1.7 billion US dollars. And this is going into, of course, there's also probably something going into maintenance of the products to just keep them up to date, right? This is also very important, that they don't break. But it's going also into new features. And we can see this with all the AI-focused features that we released right now and that we are working on right now. We can see it on the whole markets topic. We can see it on the payments topic, that Shopify Payments was released here in Poland and is going to be released in many more markets in the future. We can see it, just scroll through the Shopify Editions and you will get a glimpse of what is happening under the hood of Shopify. Also the full B2B storefront that we provided. This project started, I believe, 2 years ago. It was the first release. And now we have businesses, B2B only businesses, doing hundreds of millions of revenue through through their Shopify storefront.
Yeah, we were losing a lot of clients, like B2B clients that were like looking for the platform before.
I'm glad that you actually touched this feature like the B2B, because we didn't mention it. When you are selecting Shopify Plus, you are enabled to start selling on in a different channel, like the B2B channel. Can you elaborate a bit more how complex solution it is right now? I mean, it doesn't need to be in very detailed, but in general, is it let's say the good right tool for the company who is looking for let's say reliable, serious and complex solution for this platform, or is it some kind of just extras to your regular business?
Okay, so I think where it came from was businesses that do D2C sales, right? Main business, D2C, but there's also B2B interest. Maybe they had a very old school workflow by email, by phone, etc. for the B2B transactions that they had. And this was the very simple way to just kick off another sales channel. It's a different storefront. You can set up specific companies as customers, and then the companies can have multiple entities, multiple personas under this company entity. And then they have different price lists. Everything is individualized for those specific customers. This is kind of how it started. But since then, we just noticed that the interest in the B2B platform is so big that Shopify is putting more and more investment into it. Again, this is probably based on this rating mechanism, right? The more features are demanded, the more we hear for this specific feature set, the more we will develop there. And what we're doing right now, because for the B2B segment, it's a little different than D2C sales. It's very often way more customized. It's much more process heavy than actually sales heavy. That it's not the most inspiring shops that you will see in the B2B sector. There are some. I've seen some. We talked to some of them. But most of them, they need processes that they have their processes with their suppliers, and these need to work. So I think what Shopify is doing there, and also the partner ecosystem is doing there based on Shopify APIs, building a feature set that allows you to customize it to your needs, so that you have approval workflows within the sales channel of B2B, that you have that you can upload your CSV files. They will automatically translate into a card that you can then, or into products that you can add to your card. So it's not very sexy, so to say, as the things that we do in D2C.
Yep.
But these are just necessary processes that help us win more deals in the sector. And also there, same as for the pricing part in the beginning, I would recommend talking to Shopify if you're a B2B business of decent size, and see if your requirements are actually matching with what Shopify is doing or with the flexibility of Shopify. And what we see right now is that merchants are very often surprised how flexible it is and how many things we can say, this is basically like you press 2 buttons and you have that. This is by default. And this costs you probably 30,000 to develop on your current platform. So definitely reach out to us, to you guys, and then we can talk about it.
Okay, so maybe if we could switch gears to another subject and talk about like the Polish e-commerce system. And I was wondering about how do you guys approach like cooperation with like the major players in the Polish e-com market, like marketplaces and ERPs and payment providers and so on. So do you have like some plans for that, and are you in some sort of like conversations with them? What's the story here?
Okay, so I think there I cannot give a too big insight below the hood of Shopify, but I can share maybe just a general approach how we see partnerships. And to start off, partnerships is the backbone of Shopify, right? The ecosystem is what makes Shopify so strong. Without you guys in the market, Shopify wouldn't do too well here.
Without me and Tom.
Exactly, the two of you. Exactly. And maybe 2-3 more. So without you, it just wouldn't work out. Shopify cannot operate just by itself in hundreds of markets on this whole planet. That's not how a business like that works. But we rely on our partners that are in the market. And for the integrations to the local partners, there's always 2 approaches. We have our own partnerships team that is talking to those businesses. I cannot tell you if they're talking to them specifically right now, and also how advanced those conversations are. But we are in all the major markets integrated into those providers, right? There's always this one tipping point in every market where Shopify is so relevant as a business. The providers need to build the integration themselves because Shopify is becoming the relevant partner.
I think in Poland we are behind this point at the moment already. Like,
you mean behind it?
Yeah. Okay. Like that we already reached this point, and we have brands like that didn't want to hear about Shopify like 5 years ago when we were like talking to them about like some integrations. Right now they're coming to knocking our doors and asking us for some way into Shopify ecosystem. So
okay. So that's a good sign.
Yeah.
That means that also Shopify has to qualify a bit and see which are the most relevant partners. And I believe we also already mentioned some of the names, the most important partners in the market. So I believe there will be conversations from our partnerships team. And it's always worth it to mention those partners specifically to me and my colleagues, because then we can also, if you have an entry point to, let's say, Allegro or a similar partner that you think, okay, I know from them, they really want to talk to you guys, just connect us, and then we will pick up conversations from there. Cool. Because usually working with Shopify, again, partnerships is the backbone of our business. We're happy to talk to the relevant local partners.
And
sorry, no. I just wanted to ask, because you said about our role in this expansion of Shopify here. We are really glad to hear that. But how do you assess, let's say, because I think that this is one of the potential question of the merchant who is considering Shopify, how the support after the migration will looks like here. So how do you see the, let's say, ecosystem of Polish agencies which are specialized in Shopify? How many of them, I don't know, are existing, or how do you see their interest of become of the partner of the Shopify?
Okay, I think First of all, I don't know the exact number for the partner ecosystem in Shopify. Also because it's growing, there's a few certified partners, which I think this number should be around 8 to 10, somewhere in this ballpark. And these are the partners that are doing the main groundwork. And then, of course, everyone could technically be a Shopify partner. There's freelancers that are doing this. That there may be some freelancers based in Poland, but they maybe only work for US businesses. There's many scenarios. But maybe there's one very important thing to highlight. Shopify in Poland is a strongly growing business. And maybe that's also something that we haven't talked about. But the European market in general is the strongest growing region for Shopify. This means Shopify as a business is putting also most of its investments into the European market, because we see, okay, if we put an investment, it gets us a better ROI than in other markets. So the hunger is there, right? It's growing strongly, and maybe just the fact that I'm here today, and not just today. I mean, I've been visiting a couple of times already here in Warsaw and other cities in Poland, and we're talking to merchants. We have great conversations. There's appetite for more Shopify in the market. This just shows that betting on Shopify is kind of getting inevitable. So there's not really that many options. If you're saying no to Shopify as a partner, it might be also a tech partner, might be agency partner, you will probably miss out on a lot of business already today, but even more in the future. And that's also something that we saw in the German market. We had those partners that were partners already since 10 years and even more now. And they have, again, an unfair advantage because they have those customer success stories, right? They have already so many migrations, so many successful stories under their hood. And this is just building trust, and it will help you to grow even further. And I think every agency that is adopting Shopify, for example, in Germany, just right now, after 4 years that we're in the market, we did, I think I worked myself on over 200 migrations from other systems to Shopify Plus. These businesses just deciding now to say yes to Shopify as an agency partner, they lag behind. They lack the trust, and they lack the experience. And merchants that are considering to change, they will partner up with the partners that are experienced, that have names in the Shopify ecosystem. So I guess my advice in this sense would be everyone who is not yet considering to partner with Shopify, whether it's a CRM, ERP, reach out and see how we can work together just to make successful business together.
Yeah, well said. And I can only confirm, like for us, like partnership with Shopify was the main growth driver for the last couple of years. And I think when we were starting, like we were doing our first Shopify migration, our team was like maybe 10 people, and a couple ways down the road, and it's like X6 or something, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Maybe one last question. Yeah. So maybe I'll do this one.
Do you have one?
Yeah.
Okay.
One is question on the subject of partnership, because we hear from our colleagues from other agencies that they are in a way concerned about like some internal competition between Shopify team and working together on a closing a lead. And is there some sort of like threshold of brands that you would like handle yourself and like take over from agencies, or what's we haven't had this sort of experience, but maybe this needs like some reassuring for some people.
That's a fair question, because I believe all those businesses have different approaches. For Shopify, we have our professional services team, and you can pay them to support you with your migration. Usually this only happens in the enterprise space. So for businesses doing 1 billion zloty in revenue yearly, This is where professional services really has to come in, where Shopify is actually saying, you as a partner have to collaborate with our professional services team. And then this will be part of the agreement with Shopify. Just because for businesses of that size, it's a different kind of complexity. And then we want to make sure that everything goes well, that go-live dates are met just because of the increased level of complexity. The barrier we chose, those 250 million US dollars, you have to set the border at somewhere.
Yeah.
It might also be that you would want that support at 150 million, or maybe it's just necessary over 400 million, but we set this boundary at 250. And below that, we rely for 100%, or we want to rely for 100% on our agency ecosystem in the market. There's also one thing that I would like to add there, but especially for the migration, we want this to be done through our partners that have experience doing migrations, because for Shopify, a merchant is firstly getting valuable as a partner when they start when they actually migrate it, when they start transacting through the Shopify platform. Before that, yes, there is the fixed license fee, but this is not the goal, right? The goal is to get you onto Shopify and to get you also onto Shopify and to grow your business, right? To increase conversion, etc. This is the main goal of us, and we know that you as experienced partners can achieve this in the best way. And then there is a point which is, I think, very relevant. You also mentioned it. In the whole retainer game in the agency, on the agency side, or further store development. You said once the migration is done, a merchant can just operate their store, which is true. They can run it. They can also create their new landing pages, especially now, right? This is going to get easier and easier. But building custom new features, testing new features, and just relying on a partner to maybe also give some creative input. This is something that we 100% see on the Shopify partner side, and that we really encourage on the merchant side, right? We don't want them to have Shopify just as a platform that is like just running their business. We wanted to have it as a platform that they can experiment on, and that they can grow and find ways to experiment with it.
Okay. So I have one more question that is like really nurturing me, and as I said before the recording, my LinkedIn feed is like full of opinions and comments after this year's Shopify Editions and like the Shopify Unite in Toronto, and agency owners and the founders of apps that are working within the Shopify ecosystem are really, at the same time, excited but also concerned about the future of the ecosystem of agencies and apps when it comes to the AI adoption, and especially the things that are happening when it comes to building storefronts with the AI and the Sidekick advanced reasoning and so on. So I think that everybody is curious about what the future holds for them. And can you leak any maybe not sensitive information on that, but what are the plans for that, and how do you think that agencies and partners would have to reimagine their the mission vision for the growth and being in the ecosystem?
Okay, so a couple of points there. I've been just to Toronto. We heard Toby, our CEO, speak about Shopify, about the vision of Shopify. So I think there's a couple of points that I can bring in here. First of all, if anyone in the agency ecosystem is maybe a little bit worried, I think I have more reason to be worried because I'm sitting at
we read the memorandum.
Exactly. No, I think there is actually no reason to be worried at all. There's one very strong opinion that Toby Lütke has, and that I would like to bring in as an answer here. Toby Lütke, I mean, we're what are we, like 9,000 employees at Shopify or
yeah,
something?
but on the other hand, Toby is from Germany too, so I think you're okay.
You would think so. Okay. No, so what he always says is that AI, or everything that comes out of it, that comes with it, should be seen as an enabler of the people that are working on those topics, that are working on storefronts, that are working in sales, that are working in product. Doesn't really matter, but it should be an enabler that just makes you better at what you do, that gives more output. It shouldn't be necessarily seen as something that is making people redundant, just as something that makes people get better outputs done in probably shorter amount of time. And this is really the vision that we have at Shopify, to make people more efficient, whether it's internal or whether it's also empowering our merchants, but also partners. Because yes, Shopify is giving you all those tools, but will ultimately the merchants use them, or will you be the ones using them? It might vary from use case to use case, but then again, the Shopify partner ecosystem, I believe it has been changing since, you said it, since 8 years now.
Yeah.
It has been always changing. Every year with Shopify is always a year with change. This can be a beauty, but can be also tough. And I guess the agencies, the partners that are able to adapt the best to those circumstances, will be the ones to just benefit from it and benefit from the overall developments in the market. But I think the need for Shopify is so big, and the growth is so strong that this won't be any, that's a personal opinion now, but there won't be any replacement at any time soon. It will just be driving more merchants to Shopify, will drive more interest. You said it, your LinkedIn feed is full. So the LinkedIn feed of the merchants that are not on Shopify, it's probably also full. They're getting more curious. They're starting to test things. They will start talking to you, to me. And I think this is just going to help everyone that is connected to Shopify.
These are some words of wisdom.
Yeah. And now we could even end this episode. But before we do it, I would like to ask you to share your vision of the further development of Shopify in Poland, especially because that's the subject of our today's episode.
Yeah. So as you already see now, someone is here in Poland, which is, I think, very much appreciated. This I can already feel. It's always I always get very positive comments when I am here. But even though I can speak a little bit of Polish, it's usually just enough to have a small talk, to have a rather informal conversation. And the vision that I have is that, and this is also gonna happen just in that way, is that we will have dedicated partnership managers for our agency and also tech agency, tech partner landscape. We will have dedicated commercial teams, dedicated solution engineering in the local language, and then also post migration that you have support and also the merchant success team in the Polish language, so that the whole merchant journey will be in the local language. I cannot share anything on the dates here, but I know that many things are happening under the hood for the Polish development, also regarding feature parity with other regions, and I can give no further insights than saying that. But I know that things are happening, and I think if I would have to place a bet, I would put it on Poland right now in the European market.
Cool.
Great.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah, Maurice, so thank you very much once again for your presence here. I'm really glad that we have this chance today to discuss. I believe that there were many fruitful insights which you just gave us today. So next episodes are in our pipeline, definitely, so stay tuned for the next topics. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for the invitation.